Hi and welcome to Geekology. I'm David.
No, it's Sven.
And tonight, well, sorry, it's Educate Dave, isn't it?
Oh yeah, completely.
Alright, and we will see how my education is holding up this far. Black and Silver box, so obviously masterpiece. Ooh. Okay, there are two questions that instantly spring to mind. So, do you want the really stupid one, or do you want the one that I have a sneaky suspicion has a 20-minute answer?
Go for the 20-minute answer. I'll try not to give you a 20-minute answer.
Why is it Bumble, not Bumblebee?
Bumble's simply the Japanese name because of Hasbro originally creating the Transformers brand based on two Takara lines. They handed over the specifications of the toys and went, make characters to match these to Marvel. Marvel went, yeah, okay, this VW Beetle, we'll call it Bumblebee.
Right.
Bearing in mind it's a VW bug in the States, but yeah, that's Bumblebee. And then when Takara adapted what Marvel had done for Hasbro back into the Japanese version of the
so let me get this right. It went from Japanese to English.
Yeah.
Back into almost Japanese.
Yeah, I mean basically because
they did what Disney did to Studio Ghibli.
Not as such, because you've got to bear in mind that what Takara had is they had Diaclone and Microchange. They were two separate toy lines.
Right.
What Hasbro did is they took the two toy lines and threw them at Marvel and make a story.
Yeah.
Make characters. And don't make them like mechs with pilots. They're basically supposed to be the life form. So the first Takara knew of this is when they were thrown back at them for when they were launching Transformers as a brand in 1985, bearing in mind that in the States it had already been going a year by the time Japan had actually got Transformers as a big thing.
Concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of the names that came back had to be altered, like Optimus Prime, a Latin name, didn't make sense for the Japanese market, so they reverted back to Convoy, which was based on Battle Convoy, which is what the original toy was made when it was called. It was a Diaclone toy which had a pilot. Okay. Bumblebee became Bumble. Jazz became Meister.
What?
Yeah, I'm not even sure where that comes from. I'd imagine Meister means something in Japanese that completely makes sense, but I'm not au fait with that. Shockwave became Laserwave, that kind of makes sense. And so on and so forth. Basically, there's alterations. Sideswipe became Lambo because it was Lamborghini. Even though they didn't license the Lamborghini, which came back and bait them in the ass later on.
Right.
So on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, Blue Streak is Streak and so on and so forth. It's all...
Okay.
They're all recognisable though, you know who they're referring to. You see what I mean?
Now I remember the film. I'm a bit...
By that we mean the 1986 one.
Yeah. I do not remember at any stage the exoscoop looking quite that camp. I remember it looking quite camp, but not that camp.
Where'd that come from?
Reason for this?
Who cares? I'm worried about where it's going.
Oh god.
We're being sucked into it!
One of those with a massive blooper reel. I can believe it.
Oh shit, Bumblebee, what are we going to do now?
Buzz off. Okay.
Yes, so yeah, Bumblebee. Okay, let's have this out of the box, shall we? Before you start looking at it and going, oh yeah. Please bear in mind this is actually not brand new. This is the first time I'm getting out of the box as well. Thank you to Ian, otherwise known as Airlift, here on YouTube. There will be a card to pop over to his channel to check him out.
He put magic tape on it and I'm managing to completely screw up opening magic tape. That's when you know that you're feeling special.
Next time we're checking Dave, how do you use a pair of scissors?
Okay, nice. That was not as subtly done as maybe it should have been. Okay, well yes. Ooh.
Moving on.
We've got a little faceplate. Yep. Oh god, that really does look shockingly nice weight in the plastic. Okay, this looks atrocious, but they've used very good quality plastic. gun thing.
Entry transforms. I'm sure we'll find out.
Break it down to you and me uptown, dancing all around till the disco ball pops. But I have
Not so sure about the quality of plastic, but yeah, it's all
I don't know, it feels... You didn't like that bumper, right? I keep trying to get this top to do something, because it obviously does something, but I'm not sure.
spins around, I think.
Yeah, I think
To try and be a robot in disguise.
I'll tell you what, I'll put the bumper back on, and then shall I give you your toy back before I break it some more. Okay, here's one barely molested.
There's another faceplate.
Okay. Ooh, I'm happy, I'm angry. I'm happy, I'm angry, I'm confused.
It's Bumblebee, angry, basically translates as annoying. It's a point where Megatron goes.
Plastic.
The usual masterpiece collector's card with the specs on the back.
Yeah.
There's the manuals. What's that? Right. That was what the third faceplate would have been in from Amazon.
Oh, it's an Amazon exclusive.
The extra face, the battle mask faceplate was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the wing mirrors actually come in separately, so they didn't break in the box, which is becoming a pretty normal thing for them now.
What, breaking in the box or coming separately?
Coming separately, just to try and, you know, I mean, Wheeljack, for instance, had 2 sets for the Stratos, so that kind of makes sense. Just so people say, you know, that they're reasonably decent getting through shipping and so on and so forth. So there we are. Looks like he's been a little bit tangoed. Let's see. But having said that, that kind of makes sense because the colour of the actual vehicle that was released by VW was more like that than it was that. So it kind of makes some sense. Look, it's a transformer, you can transform.
There's little spring-loaded bits in it, that's a bit surprising.
Yeah, it's really surprising to me because there's no springs in it.
It feels spring-loaded.
It's just stiff.
Stiff. No, we are not getting another massive blooper reel. That feels very much like it should make, but it really doesn't.
Pull them out sideways.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Do you want me to do it?
No, I can break it all on my own. So. Yeah, that one was complicated.
Okay, for reference, that's basically the original version.
Just the
Okay,
fact it's
it was
got
released
cool
in
stickers on it. I like the cool stickers.
Yeah, I mean this is this would have been what it looked like in 1985 with the rub sign, because it originally wouldn't have had the rub sign. And then when they did one of the encore reissues of it, they decided to remold the face to try and match in with the cartoon series.
I didn't like the colour changing stickers. Sorry, I was listening. I those genuinely did.
So that's quite cool. And you'll notice that when it got reissued in Japan, they added some paint apps. It actually got paint on the headlights and on the rear lights and so on and so forth, which weren't on the original.
Surprised they never did those to last longer.
So yes, we'll have a go at transforming that.
I mean you.
Yeah, actually that's really quite intricate, isn't it? The VW logo on the top, which is quite nice. I'm sure we'll capture that in the photo.
Okay, so one thing I noticed straight off is the headlights look really nice on that one, and I'm really curious as to what that hole is right on the back. Is that a hinge point just there, or is that?
Yeah, there's a rod through there, a pin to hold something in place. So. I've not even looked at the instructions for this. I think I'm doing alright.
Okay, now please don't take this out of context, but it does look childish.
Nice Bumblebee.
Yeah, but
It could look more childish. It could have a dummy in its mouth.
is that a reference I'm not getting?
Bumblebee from the Michael Bay films.
Oh, yeah, I'd forgotten about that. It's amazing what therapy can do.
Yeah. That makes me think of Bumblebee from the comics. Which is always a good thing for me. Let's be honest.
Well, I'll have a look at that. You
Okay,
have a
take
look
that
at
off,
the
'cause I'm just
exosuit. And shall we actually, try and make this video look like we're reviewing something?
No, we could do that.
Okay, right, so. I really genuinely dislike that faceplate. So I'm glad it comes with other ones.
Yeah. Now you see, this is the thing, is for me that faceplate is better than the other two.
Okay.
However,
The articulation.
I have an issue with it having blue visor because it's supposed to be silver.
Okay. Articulation point in the arms is nice.
Mm.
The glass used for the cab is good. Yeah. Already set up quite like the headlights. Paint job is quite nice. Watching you transform it seems pretty good. Me, maybe not so much. Okay. Yeah. I'm fine with this as a toy. Right, you know my favourite next question is always, how much?
Right, it has been kicking around a little bit less than the other toys, which it needs to. I mean, the recommended retail price in Japan is roughly the same for this as it is for the other Masterpiece cars.
You're kidding.
But they're making up with that. That's basically the suggestion is that this is
And this does not transform, I take it.
I think it's supposed to. I've just managed to flip round wheels and stuff, so yeah, it does. I don't think. I'm trying to remember. I don't think we ever saw Spike transform Transformers movie. No, we didn't. We just saw his son Daniel do it.
Yeah, because he turned into that
Little car.
Yeah.
To get away from the Decepticons that who
I
had already
did
died at
some of
that
that.
point, and yet still turned up.
What's his plate called?
That's his.
The guy on the arm.
Well, that's his spare wheel.
Oh, it's a spare wheel for the.
For the vehicle mode, so it's supposed to go on his back, I think. But I mean, no huge hurry.
So, given that this is a. Yeah, that's what it transforms into. It transforms into a weird little rocket.
It's supposed to be a vehicle.
Yeah, it's a weird little rocket. Very, very much like it should vibrate. Oh, okay, so the spare wheel can either go onto the beat, can be used in robot form as an extra piece just there on the shield, or can clip underneath the vehicle,
That would make
really strange.
no, that would make more sense. That's where VWs often have them. Sort of.
Okay, it has an additional tag piece as well. Okay, that's quite cool.
Is that the is that by any chance?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I thought was the number plate.
Yeah, you can put that into there,
Right.
and then click this into there to keep that port free, or you use that as a number plate, it's just that.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, well the instructions are actually very
I
simple.
mean, one thing that screams to me is that number plate and various other things are screaming, get me some repro labels. But then I do it just me.
That is just you just like, oh his head flips. You can take the visor off. I'm not sure, oh the head flips back so that when it's in vehicle mode,
Right.
he's looking out of the view screen like he's lying down inside some weird exosuit.
Yeah, it's weird, huh?
Okay. Alright then, so, Masterpiece, yes, plastic rather than metal.
That's been a standard.
Would
thing.
Takara have had a version with interchangeable faceplates?
Yeah, they originally had two faceplates, and then the third one is that one that was the Amazon.
So are the
exclusive.
Japanese collectors desperately trying to get hold of the Amazon version?
Well, no, because it's Amazon.jp.
Oh, so
It was a
they
Japanese
already-
Amazon.
Gotcha.
It was basically anybody buying it through Hong Kong who didn't get that, and then sort of eked out. So yeah.
Okay. One thing I do like about this one is when it's in vehicle mode, the gun clips into the base, so it becomes part of the.
Yeah, that's kind of a standard thing on the masterpieces, is that the guns try and absorb into the vehicle. Though with.
I don't remember that with any of the bigger ones.
Well, this is the thing: is that the bigger cars, they had a tendency to just stick them on the roof.
Yeah. Okay. That's
so it's like it's in battle.
Well, I'll give this one its due. I think there's a couple of nice features. I like the gun hiding away rather than being stuck on like. As a
the thing is, Bumblebee, as an original toy, never had a gun. That was something that was invented by the TV show.
Okay.
But then, conversely, his sort of semi-mould mate, he wasn't really a repaint as such. They actually had. They did this as the VW Beetle, and they also did a Porsche version of it, which looked very, very similar to the untrained eye and from a distance, but when you looked at the details, they are completely different moulds, except for the transformation is very, very similar. And that was Cliff Jumper. And it actually said in his tech spec bio profile that he had a glass gas gun, but the toy had no gun. At all. So either people absorbed, sort of like took that as it's built into his arm, which would kind of make sense. But then in the comics and in the TV show, he suddenly has this gun. Okay. And in, what was quite funny in the comics, when Cliff Jumper used his glass gas gun, the first time we actually see him use it as that, he blasts this boat that some police officers in, and it literally turns the entire boat into a piece of glass. Which is just quite cool.
So you've been very popular in shoe stores.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah. But there we go. I mean, if the faceplate pops off, if I remember rightly, and then you just swap it out for whichever one you want to go with. But to let's see how this comes off.
Just trust shoes.
There you go. That's a bit weird. The faceless wonder. So this is one of the things, is some of the earlier masterpieces like Starscream had that whole swivelly facey thing.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense to do it on some of the others. There you go, is that better? Does that soothe your troubled brow?
Really does.
No?
A bit better. It's better. It's certainly better than it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I think, you know, that's, the thing is Bumblebee was always introduced, and it was actually stated on his tech spec and bio profile that he was the smallest of the Autobots, even though the toy was exactly the same size as Cliff Jumper. And Cliff Jumper was a warrior, and this guy was basically the spy. He was the espionage agent. He's the one who goes behind enemy lines and ends up dealing with Ravage more often than not, and Ravage would make sushi out of him more times than not. But it's, I mean, I must admit, Bumblebee's never been... Now, Bumblebee in the cartoon series was always changing size, though
The character could do that, or
no, that
got
was
the
just
continuity
animation.
out?
But then, you know, the comic was very much guilty of doing very similar things with all the characters. The one image that's always stuck in my head, one little bit of footage, is Bumblebee being on a human-sized fairground ride, which doesn't make any sense because he transforms into a Volkswagen Beetle. How can he get on a human-sized ride? And then Carly, who's Spike's girlfriend in the cartoon series, who ends up being Daniel's mom, reaches into his chest and presses a button to switch off his equilibrium circuit so he gets the jollies from going around on the ride. He's just like, what? Bumblebee was very much written for young kids, and you know, and American TV shows at the time had a distinct tendency to talk down to their audience. Yeah. I mean, when we reached the 90s and they suddenly realised that maybe, you know, patronising your audience probably wasn't the best move. Like in Beast Wars, when they actually told the stories like they would to an adult and just explained the bits they needed to so that everybody could understand it. But yeah, it made more sense. Dan Gilverson, who gave him the voice, was brilliant. And the voice really suited the character. Regardless of which version of the character it was, that voice makes sense from a G1 perspective.
Right.
Whereas losing his voice entirely for the films made no sense at all for the live action films.
Because you didn't want him explaining the entire plot to the kid. Okay, from your perspective, it might not have made sense, but from a narrative point of view, it made a lot of sense to me, because otherwise he would simply have just explained everything to Sam, and that film would have been a hell of a lot shorter, which would have been quite a lot better.
There we go. Now in the comics, he just got himself into trouble a lot. The one story that immediately jumps into my head is Crisis of Command, where Bumblebee sees that Prime is having a slight crisis of command because he's having self-doubt and all this kind of stuff because of things that have happened in the previous stories. And Bumblebee decides to go off and try and capture Ravage all on his own.
Doesn't Ravage normally kick his ass?
Oh yeah. The only problem is Ravage then leads him into the Decepticon encampment. So,
and kicks his ass?
And well, no, because all of the Decepticons are standing there and basically go, "Hi,
hello.
We're going to use you as a punch bag for a bit," which is pretty much what happens. Now, it's very indicative of a little period in the British comic where Megatron was missing, Shockwave is missing, Soundwave takes command and deals more damage to the Autobots than than Shockwave and Megatron between them managing all the other issues. Which kind of tells you.
You've mentioned that in the past. It's evidently quite a pinnacle point.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, they give you an idea.
So why didn't he stay in command?
Because he's not as strong as the other two. I mean, Soundwave could possibly be completely dismembered by either Megatron or Shockwave, but Soundwave seemed to have, in the comics at least, much more about him and knew how to manipulate people. But again, that's based on the tech spec and bio profile where it said he manipulates people. And literally it says he is manipulated. So, and it's silly things like Starscream's in that, and Starscream's like, "I should be leader," and Soundwave literally goes, "But you're a missile with a mouth. Shut up and go away." And he holds Bumblebee captive. And I think this is the right episode. They send his arm back to the arcade, rip his arm off, and get Laserbeak to drop it in front of the Ark, and literally the splash page or the splash frame for it is all the Autobots. Like, they've all died for cover thinking it was a bomb, and they come out and they see Bumblebee's arm lying there, and they're just literally, "Bumblebee, what have they done to you?" So Prime then goes, "Right, not having this." Single-handedly goes in, takes out all of the Decepticons and rescues him. It's like, why don't you do that more often?
Why don't you just... Yeah, okay.
He single-handedly, he walks in, he's like making, "I'm not having this." You've got the Decepticon jets like going, "It's Prime, blah, 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 blah." No.
But he never kills any of them.
Yeah.
I realise it's a kid's cartoon show, but I'll go in, I'll beat them up a bit, and then next week they can come in and beat me up, and then next week I'll...
Well, this is the thing, is Prime wouldn't kill. Unless they had really had no choice.
Yeah, aren't Decepticons killing humans? Isn't he meant to serve and protect?
The thing is Optimus Prime is more likely to put himself in the way of the blasts to protect the humans than to take a life.
Okay, alright.
He's more that kind of character,
yeah.
If you see what I mean. He's not a battle-hardened warrior by nature. I mean, this is the thing, you've got to bear in mind that in the comics it was alluded to that Optimus Prime, before he became Prime, was a medical student under Ratchet, which is why Reed and Ratchet are quite close in the comics. It's because Ratchet was his mentor.
Gotcha.
So he's essentially, at his core, he was a doctor. Now, when this being redone,
Jim, I'm a transformer, not a doctor.
Whereas he's been rewritten so many times. I mean, when they wrote him in the comic books, he was a dock worker who got slagged by Megatron and then rebuilt by Orion. Sorry, rebuilt.
Orion Slave Girls, really?
No, because his name was Orion Pax, and then he was rebuilt as Optimus Prime by Alpha Trion in the comic, in the cartoon series rather. And then in various other retellings, he's been a police officer and an archivist and so on and so forth. So every time they reboot it, Optimus Prime seems to have a different origin. So it gets very confusing. Whereas in the comics, he never had a different name. He was always Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
There's never a pre-Prime Optimus, if you see what I mean. It was because they hadn't worked that concept out.
Yeah.
So even when he was in the gladiatorial arena, as a student, he was still Optimus Prime. So it kind of fizzles a little bit because the whole idea of the Matrix being handed down to another character to make them Prime
hadn't come into the arc yet.
Yeah, it hadn't come into the whole storyline.
Okay.
And even and just to complicate things even more, in the comics, the original creation Matrix, which is what the Matrix of Leadership in the TV show and the movie was based on, was a computer program. It wasn't a physical thing. It was basically something that was in Prime's head. That
It's a software that went,
yeah.
This is what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And then they turned it into this physical thing that could then be passed down, whereas previously, literally, it was passed by connection. So
let me Bluetooth this over to you.
yeah, exactly. And this is how the mythology developed. I mean, this is the thing. This is when you're reading the original G1 comic, it changes so much because they're still working everything out all the way through. It's like watching the first 10 series of Doctor Who before they realise, before they figure out what Gallifrey even is.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, it's that kind of situation. So
crowbar plot line here.
yeah, it's basically how are we explaining that? Oh, wait a minute, we've already explained that in this different way. How can we make that? Which is why in the comic you ended up with 2 Megatrons, because one was Stratus in a new body that was based on Megatron, and the other one was a real Megatron. One realised this, and then so we're trying to map together so many different threads and what had developed and what had happened in the movie, which they'd done an adaptation of, which was slightly different from the actual movie, and then this, that, and then it had a bit of a mess. But moving on from the character, I mean, these are the original toys.
These are the G1s.
That's the G1s. This is a massive upgrade.
They've come quite a long way.
Yeah, to say the least. But
because that is the thing about the masterpieces, they are meant to be improvements on the G1. We're still keeping it, and I'd say, yeah, I get it. I mean, this has got to be the only masterpiece that I've ever held and gone. On the other hand, no, there is no on the other hand. I don't like it. In car mode, yes. In robot mode, it looks ridiculous to me.
really?
Yeah, it does. But that is more to, you know what, it's the faceplate, it really is. I don't know why, because it makes it look really childish to me.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, in these masterpieces are very much based on the cartoon series.
No, I get that, but I'm saying like all the other masterpieces are genuinely real. I mean, like if I wanted to sing the praises of this one, yeah, I'd go, well, the VW points on the wheels is nice. The way that the gun tucks in underneath is a nice touch. The fact that they give you a back plate that can be used as a number plate or can double up in the wheel arch, and then the wheel can go on so you don't lose the bit, is a nice point. For me, you're going to really laugh at what, for me, makes this a really nice toy. Have a guess, see if you can figure it out, because you know me quite well, so I should imagine you can figure out what the one thing is on there that I genuinely think is just a really nice touch.
It's going to be something stupid like the windscreen wipers, isn't it?
You're so close.
The fact that the headlamps are set and look like they're made of...
Yes, that is, but that wasn't the piece. Again, we got so close.
The fact that the car details are right, generally. I mean, it looks like a VW Beetle.
Nope. I mean, yes, but no.
Go on. Well, the fact that it's got plastic for the...
Translucent
plastic
plastic.
for the lights. Yeah. Should have known that from the starships. Oh.
That could have just been paint.
Yeah.
They didn't. They actually put. So I fully acknowledge that. I mean, the hinge points are really nice. the plastic in the other figure feels better than this. But the construction of this it's exactly what I expect from masterpieces. Holding it, you know it is a masterpiece. But it doesn't look like a masterpiece in comparison with the others. I think the others are a higher quality than this. Whether that's because I'm just looking at the size and feel of it and going, no, or whether it is just that I can't quite get past the... I don't know.
I've got a feeling it might be more to do with character design.
Possibly.
I mean, this is the thing, is that this guy was originally a mini-bot, so when first released, that was a £3 toy in 1984.
That actually looks quite expensive for £3 toy.
Yeah, mind you, that's the Japanese reissue from years later, but yeah, I mean, it originally came out as a £3 toy. It was part of the mini-bot range, which originally was 6 different characters. This is the first of the mini-bots to get a masterpiece. So it was quite interesting how they went for it and tried to keep it.
Transform back.
Yeah, tried to keep it in scale with the robot modes of the other characters.
Okay.
Because he is supposed to be the smallest of the Autobots, at least pre-Micromaster.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I will show some photos of him next to some of the other Autobot cars from the Masterpiece range. So I think Takara might have been in quite a nasty spot between a rock and a hard place with this, because they've managed to have the car mode.
Kart mode's good.
Its car mode's really good.
Not as fat as it should.
Well, no, quite. I mean, this is the thing. It's not. It's more like an actual Beetle. It's the kind of dimensions of an actual Beetle. Now, to actually have that, and it's roughly in scale with the Lamborghinis and so on and so forth. And yet the robot mode is still significantly smaller than the Lamborghinis and so on and so forth. That's a good bit of design.
Yeah.
But I think it's possible. I mean, I quite like it, and I'm not a huge Bumblebee fan, and I quite like it because it's the character it's supposed to be.
What it's meant
They've captured the essence of Bumblebee there. He was never supposed to be this streamlined warrior. Which was always weird because he was designated as an espionage agent. He was basically a spy who snuck around and stuff, and he's bright yellow. So
it's lovely and posable.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing: is that the posability on it is really nice, and it's done really well. And I don't really have huge problems with it. I mean, I'm guessing you're looking at it as a toy from that point of view, and you're of course looking at it without the character bias in your head and any of the emotional connection to the character in any way, shape or form.
Yep.
And to be fair, as a robot toy, which is essentially what you're looking at it as, that does look ridiculous. Because he doesn't look like a warrior, he doesn't look like anybody who's going to go into battle, but that kind of is the point of the character.
Yeah, he doesn't.
So it'll be interesting how they adapt this idea if they do Cliff Jumper, because he was a Porsche. So trying to get him so he's kind of not too much bigger than Bumblebee, and yet a Porsche, that'd be interesting. Quite how they manage that. One of the things they have done with this is there's already 2 repaints of it. There's one where they've chromed it all over, which matches the Generation 2 version of this, because they literally took this and chromed it all over. And there's also a red version, because when they first released it, there was basically a yellow and a red version of Bumblebee, and so often since then a red repaint of Bumblebee has automatically become Cliff Jumper, even though originally they were actually different molds. So when they originally put them on their cards, because there was multiple different colours of each of the
original,
they literally, Hasbro put out Bumblebee cards with both the yellow and the red version of the VW in, and then Cliff Jumper cards with the yellow and the red version of that Cliff Jumper mould, even though Cliff Jumper was clearly supposed to be red and we were supposed to be yellow. And then there was even a 3rd version, which was again a completely different mould, but everybody just looked at it and went, it's a combination of Bumblebee and Cliff Jumper parts, when it wasn't. and therefore he got the nickname Bumble Jumper.
Bumble Jumper.
Yeah. So it's basically this third version of based on a very similar toy, which then turned up in some of the comics as a separate character, and it's just like, and then just to make it even more complicated, in other territories, Cliff Jumper, Bumblebee, and Bumble Jumper have been released in loads of different colours. So you can
just to confuse people.
Just to confuse people, and they're actually separate characters. So it's like, but I quite like it. I do quite like it, and you can't really have an Autobot car lineup without the mini-bots. And of course Bumblebee is always going to be the first of the mini-bots. I'll be quite interested to see how they do Windcharger, who was a Trans Am. How that's going to be that kind of size. He's going to have to be a bit bigger. Brawn will be interesting because he's a Land Rover.
Okay.
He's like, okay. He'd have to be huge, really. So how, I don't know, tying that in. It'd be interesting to see what they do with his head, because in the cartoon series, again, he had a very sort of human-looking face, whereas in the original comics, until it was altered slightly later on, and on the original toy, he was basically a battle mask type face. So with a slit for his eye, which had a spark in it.
That's okay.
Which was like, yeah, and you can just imagine that if the cartoon series had gone along that same line, it would have done sort of like sparked him down as he spoke or something.
Okay.
Quite cool. But yeah, it is what it is. I think it could have lost that. I don't think that adds anything, to be fair. Those people who really, really like the 1986 film, I can see them going, yes, I've got the two guys from the film, makes sense. But I think I would have, rather than releasing it with that as a set at the same price as the other Masterpiece cars,
I'd
just take that out and not the equivalent of 10-15 quid off it, or whatever that is in yen. So that would have made more sense. Do I need to send you to bed?
I'm sorry.
It's alright.
Well, I know you're not a Bumblebee fan. You're definitely a Prime fan.
Yeah, Prime jazz.
I mean, obviously, you know, I'm quite a sucker for masterpieces.
Yeah.
You know, mainly it's Megatron. Let's face it, I like the Megatron. But why are you so excited about this piece? I don't quite get it. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't fit with the others. The others look really good. And I'm not saying this doesn't look good. It looks good for what it is, which is a representation of the G1 version of Bumblebee. But I'm not quite sure why you're hyped about it.
I think there's several reasons. I mean, he fits, I mean, with the size he is, he fits with the other Masterpiece toys since they did the new Optimus, the new Convoy MP-10, and they basically reset the line and went, right, everything's going to be in scale with this guy.
Oh yeah, because they are in...
Yeah, and now this is the thing, is that as far as the cartoon scales go, this goes next to Prowl and Sideswipe and so on, and does look right. And yet the car mode still looks right,
So
which
you're
is
saying
always a very clever bit of engineering.
So as a Minicon,
well, as a mini Autobot, yeah.
It emphasises the scale.
Yeah, it basically makes the others look right. That's as it sounds. I mean,
no, I get it. Having this one improves the other ones because it goes to show the line of size progression.
And at the end of the day, this is the smallest of the Autobots. Of the ARC crew and the first couple of years of G1, he was supposed to be the smallest one. He's like the little brother of everybody that they try and look after, and then he goes off and does stupid things. Which is basically the character, and he was the one who sort of interacted with the humans a little bit more. I mean, in the comic, he's the one who makes first contact with the Witwickies. So he's quite integral in that way. And the other big thing about him, for me, even though I'm not a big fan of Bumblebee, one of the big things about him is he was the one who was altered the most for future versions.
Yeah.
Because the VW Beetle form of him didn't survive past G1, really. And he was altered in the most, in huge ways. I mean, essentially, for Armada, they took Bumblebee and they took Hot Rod and meshed them together to create Hot Shot.
Okay.
In the Michael Bay movies, what they did to Bumblebee is just
Wrong.
created a completely different character and then put his name on it.
Yeah.
So this basically screams, I'm Generation 1 Bumblebee and I cannot be mistaken for anything else.
Yeah.
Which kind of really underlines the line so far. So when you display them all together, there is no mistaking this is a G1 set.
Yeah.
This is screaming, I am Generation 1, I cannot be anything else.
You see, the quality-wise, I get it. It fits. But it fits in a really weird way. Because you can tell from the hinge points, you can tell from the pinpoint, you can tell from the plastic, you can tell from the feel. This is a masterpiece, you can't mistake it. But looking at it, just going, huh.
Yeah, it's basically, it's a character thing.
Yeah.
It's not a toy thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's an accurate representation of the
Character.
character, not as a
toy. I mean, basically, that is something that you would buy to go with the other characters.
Yeah.
That is something you would buy if you're a Bumblebee.
You're either really into Beatles, really into the character, or you just really want to show off how impressive the rest of the line is.
Yes, I mean, this basically, to a degree, by literally putting him next to Prowl and Wheeljack and so on and so forth, basically just reinforces the interaction between the characters. Quite why he's that size and what role he played in the dynamic of the Ark crew.
Oh,
That's basically then makes a lot of sense and basically makes the other guys make sense in relation to him.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing, is Prime would, literally, Optimus Prime would go in and deal with an entire platoon of Decepticons just to get him out.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, yet he's the smallest, he's the he actually says in his tech spec and bio profile, he's the smallest, he's the weakest, he's also the bravest of them all.
Well, yeah, because he's going up against big ones.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, you know, he's... For how ridiculous he looks, it's what he represents more than anything, and basically the character type he is, and the fact that, you know, he's almost the everyman bot.
Yeah, no, okay, I get that.
If that makes any sense. And being, I mean, this is the thing, is that you love your Jazz, you love your Optimus Prime. You may not be a massive fan of Bumblebee, but without Bumblebee,
an integral part.
Yeah, and without Bumblebee, the others wouldn't be who they are.
No,
If that
no,
makes
yeah, I
sense.
follow it. I follow it from a story point of view.
So, yeah.
us a score.
Okay, if that hadn't been in the box and they'd reduced the price instead, I'd have got an 8. With the pricing and that, I would say 6 to 7, maybe 6.5, something like that.
Okay. Oh, I think you've been very generous.
I mean, this is the thing, is that a Bumblebee, any toy of Bumblebee, isn't going to be something that non-fans of the character are particularly going to go after. If you're a Transformers fan,
Yeah.
then it makes sense. It's the character. You're going for the character. The actual representation of the character is almost secondary. But from the point of view of anybody who isn't into the mythos, isn't into the characters, it's not going to make any sense as a buy, because unless you're a VW collector, VW toy collector, it's not going to be something you go for, I don't think. And this is both the joy and the curse of Transformers, is that when they first came out, one of the major attractions of the toys was the character details that were on the back of the box.
Yeah.
That's what made them. They were just, okay, they were great transforming toys, but the fact that they actually had interaction with each other and personalities already there, which were embellished in the cartoon series or the TV show. And if you're not someone that character makes any sense to, then this is one of the toys that makes no sense.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. Well, I think that exhaustive answer of "Would you like a cup of tea, Sven?" I've never heard such a comprehensive answer. Would you like a cup of tea? You know what? I'm going to let you finish that. Well, okay. Right, my education has been moved along a little bit further. If that hasn't educated you but you have any interesting points, please feel free to place them in the comments below. You can subscribe to us here on YouTube. You can follow us on both Facebook and Twitter, and of course there is the official Geekology website. Thank you for watching, and good night.
Bye. I go for comedy, not being fucking nasty.
That's what your mum said. Oh, didn't you know that was there? Yeah, that's how one of those works. Look, so is this. It's the Geekology Show with your special guest.
Have you seen the? Oh, did you get the crumpet thing that I sent you?
Yes, I did. Absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. And then about 2 minutes later, somebody texted me. 2 minutes later, I had an email. It's like the whole world suddenly went, "Must tell Dave!" It was great that everybody wanted to tell me. Yeah. I was actually quite chuffed.
I like Stallone crackle.
It just, yes. Just make me giggle all day long, to be honest. Right, are you ready?
Yes. Yes.
Oh God.
Tits. That's another one for the bloopers. You're so manipulated.
We just Hello, editor Sven. How you doing today, mate?
Arse.
Arse. Arse.
Arse.
That's a wrap. This is a fucking family show.
Arse.
3, 2.
Wanker.
Listen.
I think I've been fingered. Live on camera.
If it's dead, that's a very different type of film.
Okay.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hi, and welcome to Geek Off. I thought I'd take what?
I can do it.
You better. No. Yeah, I was halfway.
I'm sorry. I'll refrain from breathing.
Don't breathe.
Shall I? Okay.
You don't need to breathe. It can be the Smurf show. Gee, I'm just going to turn that and just see how long before you physically crack. There you go. $64 gig card, we're all good. Give me a clean cut, shall I?
Yeah, there we go. His head's trying to come out already.
That's what she said.
Will you stop it?
Sorry, I've got your wedding speech running through my head.
What part of the wedding speech?
All of it, all the bits I was going.
Now, Bumblebee in the cartoon series changed size quite a lot.
That's what she said.
Yeah, I mean, there's this one scene that always sticks in my head for no apparent reason, where Carly, who was Spike's girlfriend, managed to reach into his chest.
Megan Fox.
No, it was
Yeah,
the blonde.
Oh, the blonde. That nerd got more than one girl.
Oh no, because that was
Bad
two
joke.
different.
Bad joke.
Can we start again?
Hello, editors fan.
Stop.
3, 2, oh, you want a fresh cut? Get out. But it was gone.